Hi guys, my name is Paige Caswell and this is my artistry video for Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is my lovely model Brittany, and today I will be doing a quick contour highlighting and then a soft eye look, and I will kind of explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm using what I'm using for Miss Brittany's face. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so I did one brow off camera, so I will do another brow on camera. So I used the L'Oreal Paris Brow Stylist Definer in the shade Dark Brunette because she's a dark brunette, obviously. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna brush up first. Brush the hairs up. And then we're gonna measure, just using the top of the pencil here, and just make sure that they're primarily like the same height. Length times width equals width. Okay. So we're gonna follow these little hairs up here that like aren't necessarily part of the main brow. We're gonna bring those in so we can just make her brow a little bit thicker, because a thicker brow I find is usually more flattering on faces. Just my personal opinion. So we're just gonna start with soft strokes, and her natural arch is here, so we're gonna bring that a little higher to where these extra little stragglers are. We're gonna follow this down to the tail. And anything that we don't like, concealer, right? Okay, so then we're gonna go under. Brittany has pretty full brows, otherwise, if she didn't, I would start with the bottom and then work its way up, but I'm just kind of filling in the sparse areas. This pencil's really good. It's super similar to the Anastasia Brow Lace. Really thin little tip, and then just comb the product through so they're pretty even. And then just because her brows end a little short, like soon, I'm gonna add a couple hair strokes to the front end. So we're just gonna flick up very lightly, so it just looks like a couple of extra hairs. Okay, so for the concealer, we are using the NARS, what is this guy called? The Soft Matte Complete Concealer. And this is the shade Light to Vanilla. Has a little bit of a pinky undertone, so it's just really good for canceling out any discoloration, pigmentation, all that good stuff. And then we are just gonna conceal any extra hair. We're just concealing along the natural arch here. I know some people really like to brow map and make sure those eyebrows were like identical twins, but we're going for a little bit more of a, not a natural, but like a soft glam, so we don't need them to be perfect, because what is perfect, you know? I'm just spending a little extra time concealing because Britt mentioned it's been a while since she did her eyebrows. You know what, we're gonna use this as an eye base too. So we're just gonna do a little coat all over the eyelid. Okay, so now we're just gonna do a little bit of some contour and highlighting. So for that, I primarily focus on powder highlighting. Cream contour is not something that I'm a big fan of. Some people work it, but I don't know. I like to work with powder. It's pretty forgiving and you can really build it up easily. So I'm going to be using the Kat Von D Shade and Light Contour Palette. We are going to dip into the shade right here. It's a pretty cool shadowy shade that's really good for enhancing the contours of the face. And then we'll get into bronzing after that. So suck your cheeks in, there we go. So we can look from the ear right here. That's her natural cheekbone right there. So we're just gonna carve a little bit with this. You always wanna start pretty light with a contour because it can get pretty exaggerated, which is also okay. We love a carved sister. So again, right there. Following the natural contour. Can get a little muddy, so with that I just like to do pressing motions, not so much sweeping. So even down into here, you don't want necessarily like a gaunt look, but you want a carved look. So this is just a Morphe brush, and I'm gonna use this for a little bit of a nose contour. And then I'm gonna dip into the same contour shade. Go in with a light hand for a nose contour because we don't want no muddy nose. Okay, so I never do a crazy nose contour, but just a little bit of a shadow to like just tighten it up a little bit, just a little bit. So we're just gonna go down the thinnest natural line of her nose there. So then we are gonna take a Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH07, and this is gonna be going in the lightest shade in the palette, the lightest highlighting shade. So this guy right here, and this is just gonna go under the under eye. And everything, especially with the powder, contour, and highlight, everything can look a little bit powdery, but once we are at the end and we set it, we forget all that powder, and it just all melts together like a nice little candle. Okay, so now we are gonna bronze because it is March, the sun is coming out, and we gotta bronze, okay? So this is the Marc Jacobs Omega Bronzer in Tantastic. We are just taking a big fluffy quoll brush here, and we are gonna bronze. We're gonna do the 3 basically. So we're gonna 1, so, like a 3. Okay, so then we are gonna add some bronzer to the forehead just to not necessarily make it smaller, but just to add more dimension, because I don't want to contour the forehead, but I want to add different dimensions to the face. See how the bronze, it just adds a little bit of something spicy. We are gonna add some blush because again, the sun is coming out. We wanna add a nice flush to the face. So this is the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush palette. And I'm gonna dip into the corally shade as well as the orangey shade because those are gonna look best with brick skin. And we're just gonna do a nice soft little blush. Smile! Okay, there we go. So we're just gonna focus on these cute little cheeks. I don't like a very separated contour and bronze and blush. I like everything to mix together. So that's why I'm not just like right here. We're gonna blend it all. So it's a nice little flush of everything. You know? Smile! Here we go. And we're just gonna blend up. And then just so we look a little sun-kissed, we're gonna do a little bit on the top of the nose. Cause it's just so cute. So then we are gonna cut the contour. Okay, so I'm using the Pretty Vulgar Mad About It powder. This is so good. Wouldn't recommend if you have super, super dry skin, but it's still a very smooth finish. We love a smooth finish. So we are just gonna follow that nice jaw and go under the contour and the blush. And it's just gonna bake there. And it also just cleans it up in general. If there's anything that you don't like about the contour, this usually fades it out enough that you don't notice. Make sure that's all even, perfect. So then we are also gonna put a little bit under the eyes because we're gonna be moving on to eyes next. And this will just catch any follow that we can sweep off after. I'm inspired by the 6th picture in the look options. So for that, we are going to be using a combination of the Modern Renaissance palette as well as the new Riviera palette. Both stunning. Modern Renaissance was like one of my first ever expensive palettes. So I was like, has to be done. And then the Revere palette is just beautiful, so we have to use both. So I primed her eyes with a little bit of the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. Nailed it. Okay, so then just, there's a little bit, it's been sitting for a minute, so obviously there's some creasing. So fingers, I find, just to like pat out any like concealer that may have creased, anything, any little creasy creases. I love using a finger. And then before that creases again, I'm just taking a Real Techniques little setting brush here, and I'm dipping into the shade Tempera. Okay, so we are taking a Morphe M441 and we are dipping into the shade Golden Ochre. This is just a nice fluffy brush to get some product on the eye. So Britt and I both have similar eyelids in the sense that we both have more of a hooded eye. We have a little bit that just kind of droops down. So with that, it's totally fine. We just kind of like, not aggressively, but gently lift up the lid just so we can get into all the little nooks and the crannies. And this is kind of a transition shade as well as just a nice wash. We are gonna add a little bit of Burnt Orange, the shade. Pretty straightforward, burnt orange shade, okay? So I'm taking this on a Morphe M506. It's a nice little detailer brush, so I have a little bit more control of the product. So with Britt's eye shape, I didn't want to do anything like a cut crease or anything. I just wanted a very simple but blown out blended look, because I'm not even a big fan of cut creases on myself just because of the way that our eyes are shaped. They're still beautiful, but these just are a little bit more wearable for us hooded sisters. So we are taking a Morphe M518 and we're gonna blend out the edges here. So this is just a little bit of a bigger brush to smoke it out a little bit. So I'm gonna be taking the shade Real Gar, so this nice orangey shade, on a Real Techniques brush, and we are just gonna pack this on the more mid area. So that just added a nice wash of warmth to her eye. I'm just gonna blend. We don't want any harsh lines, like windshield wiper motions back and forth. We are gonna take a Morphe M321. So I'm gonna dip into the shade Palm. You know, like a palm tree. We're gonna lift up the little liddy poo. And we're gonna add this to the outer corner. And this is just so we have a soft transition from darker to light. I always go in with a very light hand with dark shades because it can get real out of hand real quick. I would know. I used to wear blue eyeshadow up to my eyebrows. Amen. So I'm gonna take a Morphe M433 and this is just gonna blend out the edges. So we are taking the new Anastasia loose highlighter in the shade Snowflake. So this is a Morphe M431. So just for added intensity, I am gonna spray this brush with a little bit of MAC Fix Plus. So some people like to just keep it very minimal, but we're not gonna do that today. Not for Britt, she deserves a good glow. So now we are gonna take an Alamar, a precision liner brush, but without actually doing liquid eyeliner. We are gonna do a little bit of definition along the lash line. Not liner, but similar to liner. So with that, I'm gonna dip into the shade Cypress Umber, a nice dark brown. So it'll be a soft little smoky moment. And we're not gonna do a crazy little wing, but we're gonna smoke it out enough that it looks like it could be like a little like sassy little side eye. And connecting to where I smoked it out here, just for a nice little outer V. There's no new product on this brush, but we're just blending. So then we have one eye done. Before I forget, we are gonna set the brow. So we are using my favorite Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. And we're just gonna comb up, up, up and away. And this obviously just adds, it holds the brows in place, sets all the product that's in the brows, as well as just adds a little bit extra zhuzh to them. I'm gonna take a fluffy powder brush and we are gonna look up and we're gonna sweep all the fallout and the translucent powder off. There we go. And she's smooth, perfect. Okay, so now we're gonna do the under eye. So this is just a Quo tight little packer brush. And we're just going to use that for under, okay? I'm using the Riviera palette once more, and we're gonna dip into the shade Coastline. And because it's such a tight little packer brush, I don't need to press too hard for pigment because it's so intensely, like, the pigment is so packed that it goes on the dense bristles very nicely. So one thing when smoking out the lower lash line, you always want to connect it to whatever you've done at the top, just so it's not two separate chunks. We want everything to be blended and seamless. So with that, on the same brush actually, we're going to dip into the shade Cabana. Okay, so then this is just a nice, it's like an off yellowy, borderline pukey yellow shade, but I love it. We have some false lashes. We just use the Ardell Demi Wispies. They are very soft, everyday lash. If you don't want to wear mascara, I highly recommend those. They're nice and light. So we just did those, did the other eye off camera. Everything's looking good. So now we are gonna highlight, which is my favorite part. Oh my god. My favorite shade, Miss Sunshine. The sun don't shine every day. With this highlight, it does, okay? Okay, so we are gonna be taking a Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH09 brush, spray it with some Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. It's the best, oh my god. So then we are gonna dip into the shade Sunshine, and we are gonna glow. So we're gonna do that on the temples and all the high points of the face. So I love Sunshine because it goes on very, it looks like it's gonna be yellow, but it has so many different reflects in it. Has a little bit of a pinky reflect, a little bit of gold, the best of everything. So then we're gonna do the nose, just going directly down. I love this kind of brush for highlighting because it's very tapered, so it gets the product where you wanna put it. It gets the job done. So then, now that we did like the primary highlighting areas, so just right here, I want to take it, nothing too crazy, but just a little bit of a natural glow all over the face. So we're not going to build it up as much here, but just like a light zhuzh, if you will. And then we're going to do the Cupid's bow. So with that, I'm just going to take Sunshine on my finger. I've got sunshine on my finger. So with that, I'm gonna take my ABH lip palette. We're gonna mix 11. So that is this really flattering nude shade right here. And we are gonna mix 3, this guy, and a little bit of primary 1, so the white. And we're just gonna custom a nice little peachy nude. So this is the shade we're aiming for here. A we're gonna slightly overdraw. We're just gonna go a little under her natural lip line, as well as on top. We're gonna do a little bit extra in the Cupid's bow area. So we are gonna take, where is it? My Tarte Shape Tape and a little concealer brush, and we're just gonna sharpen up the lips. And just gonna set that with a little bit of powder. It just keeps everything nice and sharp. We are gonna set it and then we'll do lower lash mascara. So this Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, it really just melts everything together. We fan because we can. This has become a staple in my routine. The best part of my day. It feels amazing. So this is my look on my lovely model Britt, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks guys!